And we are live. So, welcome back everybody to another episode of Z.I.P Talks. Today we are joined with team 19048, Robopapiu from Romania, and we're going to be discussing season strategy and robot design. So, first of all, we'll go around with some introductions. I'll start off. My name's Anish. I am a second year member on Team Z.I.P Ties and my second year in FTC as well. And I do robot construction and I'm the co-outreach lead on the team.
Yeah, my name is Arnav. I'm the lead builder on Z.I.P Ties, and this is my fourth year in FTC.
My name is Prithvi, and I'm also a builder on the team, and this is my second year in FTC.
Hi, my name is Vlad. This is my second year on the FTC competition, and I am a PR agent. It's so nice to be here. Thank you for the agreement.
I'm Adrian. I'm the lead constructor on my team, the oldest member. I've been on FTC. Yeah, I've been in FTC for 3 years.
Hi, I'm Sherban, first in FTC. I'm also at construction team, and I hope we can talk about the specimen arm.
Hi, I'm Maite. I'm from the programming team, and this is my first year, and I hope we can talk about programming.
Well, first things first, I am sorry if our English is bad, but I hope you can understand us and our questions or our explanations. If you ever need some more explanations or just to be more clear, tell us, please.
Yeah, no, you're totally good.
Good, perfect.
So first of all, I would like to ask you, especially the constructors, if you have in mind a way to climb up to the second tier to do the full climbing.
Yeah, so I think this climb challenge is one of like the hardest things that I've seen in FTC, like my past 4 years. Um, it's like a really interesting, intricate idea because you have to climb up two vertical poles, right? And so one thing I've seen just like on the FTC Discord, and with other teams in general, is you almost need two separate climb mechanisms in order to hang. Um, and so just some common ones from last year. I know a lot of teams had like a winch design with two claws where basically they tied a string to the end of a hook and then just spooled it in. That way it has enough torque to lift up the entire robot. Another thing that I saw a lot was linear actuators. They're like really robust. You can get a kit from them from like GoBuilda. What do you guys do last year for the hang?
Yeah, we've got like two linear actuators, what you said, from GoBuilda, and it just held on really good. But the challenge this year I get is that we can no longer have those actuators in the middle of the robot. So when we climb onto the first rank, our robot will balance, and then we will not be perpendicular anymore. So we would need to have some sort of, I know, mobile actuator to go to up to the second rank.
Yeah, that's something I also saw this season. Is last season it was just hanging on one bar, so it didn't matter if you were tipping around or like just angled. But especially this season because you have to reach up to that second rung too. It's really important to consider the weight distribution of your robot so that you don't have one side tipping over,
Hmm.
and then angling your robot, which is definitely an even bigger challenge.
Well, yes, since our center of mass is, I think, in the right side of the robot and our mechanism is on the left side, we do experience that problem of tilting. We've tried out some two types of hooks, one stationary and one that can reach up to the second bar. However, uh, first of all, we hope that uh, we can get to the first bar and make the robot be in a stable mode.
Yeah, we have an idea, though we have not tested it. So we reach up to the first bar. Then we have some stationary hooks that uh, make that hold on the first bar, and then the same mechanism goes up to the second one and pull the robot up. But we have not yet finished it, so we don't know if that works.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. We definitely thought of that in like our whole brainstorming phase. But one thing there's actually that's really helpful is FRC teams. A lot of FRC teams had this hang challenge before, and I think that will be a really good, useful resource for a bunch of FTC teams.
Yeah, around 11 years ago, I think they had an FRC challenge exactly like kind of like our hang, but instead of their us like we go 90 degrees vertically, instead of them going like completely vertically, they have to hang. They do like a monkey bar type of incline. So it's similar. There's a lot of cool ideas from there that you can take. That's definitely what we've been looking at as far as like developing some sort of like hang mechanism and trying to distribute the weight of our robot to kind of allow us to hang correctly.
And have you started working on it, or are you just at the, I don't know, thinking phase?
Yeah, so I mean, one thing that our team does is we sort of focus, and this is just for general scoring. We did this last year too. We try to focus on the main scoring objective in the game because 90 to like 95% of the points that you will score in the game will be through the samples, a specimen, or some sort of parking. And so when we first started the game, we mainly focused on ways in order to tackle that challenge rather than the hang challenge. We definitely kept it in the back of our mind, but especially super early on in the season, I think um, like not many teams are that competitive at this stage. And so one thing that would just be helpful is you're like a level two hang where you can get up to that first bar, but definitely prototyping further and getting a consistent mechanism to get to the second bar.
And what do you use for the main scoring? Do you use an active intake or something like a passive one?
Yeah, so right now, we sort of just like early on in the season, we're keeping a passive intake, a claw. Um, but one thing our team like really likes to do is have an active intake just because it's a lot quicker and there's barely any need for accuracy. So definitely later on in the season, we're gonna start to sort of see how we can implement an active intake. What are you guys planning on doing?
Well, we also have a claw right now that also, because we were really concerned that the active intake could like take more than one game element. So for starters, we settled on a claw that also scores the elements. It picks up and it also scores. We don't have anything fancy. It's quite simple actually, but it works really well, especially right now, super early on in the season.
Yeah, I think a claw is definitely like the simplest design this season. Also, a lot of teams have made it really effective. From what I've seen on like the Discord and on YouTube and stuff. Um, so I think definitely even worlds further down the line, we'll see teams with a claw that are putting up insane scores.
Yeah, and it's not even that much slower to make a huge
Hmm.
difference than an active intake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just the precision at that point, and how well your drivers can work together as a team and kind of use that claw to their advantage.
Yeah, and so on this whole topic, I sort of wanted to trace back a little to like the brainstorming and actually design process of like your whole robot. So when you guys start the season, what's the sort of design process you guys go through, brainstorming wise, game strategy wise, that sort of thing.
Well, first of all, we watch the season launch, obviously, and then we kind of think of different. We kind of dissect the game into different parts. The scoring, the parking, the end game, the autonomous period, and so on. And then we come up with ideas. We brainstorm ideas and also see what other teams have built in like the first 24 hours or something. Also see if the FRC had anything similar. Like in this year, uh, the climbing was similar as in the FRC, and then we start, I don't know, implementing the ideas and see if they are good or not. How about you guys?
Yeah, so we definitely do a very similar process. One thing we also try to do is get a lot of our mentors and like alumni to sort of give us feedback back and forth of our ideas, because it's really easy to get like lost in one specific idea that's like overcomplicated. You don't really know how it
Mm-hmm.
works. So definitely having a mentor to sort of like drag you back in the correct direction helps a lot. Um, but yeah, like you mentioned, we look at a bunch of the robot in 30-day videos, robot not 30-day, 30-hour videos, robot in 3 days, and we sort of get a picture of what seems to be working for other teams. That way, it can help our design, sort of seeing what the best practice might be, um, and also just like speed up the brainstorming process.
Yeah, we definitely also bring our alumni to talk to us, but the problem is that they are quite scattered across the country, so it's quite
Mhm.
hard to get to reach out to get them come to us and see what we have been doing. But this year we have only managed to get two guys to look at us, but they have helped us very much.
Yeah. And so another like super important thing is definitely like planning your season out. So is that something you guys do? And like if so, how do you guys do it?
So we do plan, and we do have like planning in time. So at the first meet, we tend to participate in the meets as early as possible to see what, in order to have time to upgrade our robot for down the line. So we do come with a prototype, a simple one, not too complex, but
Mm-hmm.
quite competitive, especially early in the season. We participate to the meet, exchange experiences with other teams, and see what others have been up to, and then adapt from that point forward into the season.
Yeah. So like yeah, something that we do also is we sort of see like what sort of competitive level we want to be at. Um, Whether we want to just have a really good robot for our league meets, a really good robot for our states robot, or a league really good robot for our if we make it to worlds, our worlds robot. And so we sort of plan it out based on that, and then competitively we can base the complexity of the robot, the efficiency of different mechanisms based off of that.
Yeah, we definitely also do that. The thing is that the differences between the robots in the first meets and then like that happened like this month, in October, November, and the robots in late December and early January is like from the ground up to the sky. It's a huge difference.
Yeah.
And last year we overhauled that whole robot and our whole system after the first meet because we found out that it was not competitive enough. And it's probably what we are gonna do this year as well, but we shall see.
Yeah, that's something we did a lot in the past years, where we would have one design, we're like, okay, this isn't working, we scrap it, move on to another design. um it definitely works for a lot of teams, like but for us we couldn't really get our sweet spot. We just changed a little too much, um and it like we didn't have enough time to do driver practice, programming, things like that. So that's definitely something to consider. Especially like I know you mentioned you have another lead programmer, but also for like your younger rookie programmers, because it's like your first year. I mean, I don't know how experienced or like I'm sure he's catching on really quickly, but definitely giving them enough time to work with the robot, test it, sort of understand how the program should work with the robot, because that's definitely another super important aspect. The sort of fusion between your hardware and your software, that's really important to score successfully.
Yeah, and just equally as important our drivers. We right now do not have like we do not know who our drivers will be, and that I see as quite a problem. But I think we will manage. And one other thing is that I have seen from my experience that the robot behaves totally different in our lab and then at the lignits. It's like
Mhm.
the systems that are perfect in our lab are devastating in at the lignits.
Yeah, I think we see that quite a bit too sometimes in our competitions. We'll have something that works the night before, but then when we go there, it might stop working or we may have some issues with it, and it's a bit challenging to overcome, but at the end of the day, you get there.
I have a question for you. How do you pick your drivers?
So one thing that we start to do this year is we're sort of gonna have like a tryouts sort of aspect. So um just for like logistical sakes, we try to shy away from having programmers on the drive team because one thing for programmers is it's really helpful if they sort of are looking with their like computers with them and looking at the matches. That way, if there's any code change that they see goes wrong, they can sort of tweak it then and there, which is a little difficult when you're a driver. And so one thing that we try to do is have like a tryouts of sorts where we can like test how like rapid everyone's able to react, their top scores for different matches. That way we can sort of prioritize um, like the best drivers for our like actual competitions.
Yeah, and that is what we thought about this year. Last year was quite interesting as nobody wanted to be the driver, and our programmer, as he was programming the robot, Cesar, he drove the robot a lot, so he was the most experienced with it, and we had him as the lead driver. But we do not want to have him as the lead driver this year as well, because of the reasons that you said.
Yeah.
So more, I have like a quick question about like game strategy and season strategy. How do you guys come up with on like what to prioritize during the game? So like I know a lot of teams this year are saying, is it worth it to go for the top bucket with the samples or go for the specimens on the high rung? Because it's only a 2 point difference, and can you equate that difference somewhere else throughout the game? Like maybe in end game you get a couple extra points because of parking, you even out that score.
Well, the thing is that the top bucket is 8 points, the high rung is 10 points, like 2 points more, but with four specimens scored in the top on the top rung, we kind of have one extra put in the basket. Now, our actuators and our method of scoring in the basket is quite quick, but not as quick as putting on the high rung, as the difference in height is extremely high. So I I personally would think that scoring the specimens on the rungs would be way better than in the basket. However, if we had like the non-colored game elements, the yellow ones, because they are way more than the colored game elements, we should go for them if they are more accessible and put them in the basket. And also in the autonomous period, there are the free elements on our side, and I think that in the autonomous period we should definitely put them in the basket.
Yeah, I think that a lot of teams will be doing this year is, in the autonomous period, the samples, either if they're like neutral or line specific, will go into the baskets one way or another because you'll get more points there, and it's also, I think, a lot easier to coordinate as far as the human player goes, because now you can use the human player in autonomous to create samples or create specimens, sorry, and then place on the high rung. But that's a lot of like robot coordination with your human player, and I think that's a lot more confusion for a lot of the teams.
Yeah, it is definitely difficult, but the thing is that if we do not score the line specific samples in the autonomous period, we thought about putting them into the substation, where the human player can
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
transform
yeah.
into the specimen and then score them later after the autonomous period, because it would be more profitable in terms of points. And we could also go into the submersible and take elements from them in the autonomous
Hmm.
period. It would be quite
Yeah.
tricky as they are randomly put there, but I think that it could work if we think about it hard enough.
Yeah, I think there's definitely ways that you can quickly intake from the submersible, either maybe with an active intake or, using some color sensors on your claw or something like that to kind of figure out where stuff are. Or maybe even use vision. There's definitely a lot of ways, and I think some teams will definitely be doing that as well in autonomous.
So one thing I also wanted to ask you guys is how do you guys sort of manage documentation, making sure you have like logs of your different iterations, different robot types, and sort of seeing like one thing that happens a lot is like no mechanism is perfect, and so how do you guys go from that mechanism that might have a couple problems with it to a mechanism that fixes those problems and is more improved?
Now, this is a tricky question. The thing is that we kind of see what is wrong with the mechanism and try to fix it. Now, we are not really, we do not make our mechanisms perfect. If they are good enough and they work and reliable, we do not fix them more. No, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And this is like kind of our rule in the construction department. And we also try to like have different people look at that did not work on a mechanism, look at it. And because if you look from the outside at something, you are not really into like stuck into some ideas, and then they can very quickly see like easy fixes, and that the others could not.
Yeah, for sure. That always helps. Seeing getting a different perspective, different point of view, on like a problem you have. One thing that always happens is you get so focused on one idea and you're like, this is perfect, it's gonna work, and then it just ends up not working. So some outside perspective always helps.
Yeah, definitely. How about you guys? Because I kind of wanted to ask you the same question.
Yeah. So the way that we sort of go about it is we try but like especially in the beginning of the season, we try as many different like versions as possible with active intakes, claw intakes, and various things like that. That way we can see which one would work best for our overall robot design. Um, and so with that, we sort of like yeah, we analyze it just by like looking at it. Is it working? Is it picking up effectively? But we also record videos of it. So if there's one small like skip in a gear or one small place where it's flexing or something's messing up, what we try to do is like slow mo it and then scrub through in order to see where exactly the flaw is happening, why, what sort of things around it might be causing it. That way we can go back, maybe add some more structure in places, um, fix a couple things, and that way the problem doesn't happen again.
Yeah, this one with recording is an excellent idea. We have never thought about this before. We kind of like just looked at it really carefully, and we often missed the things that went wrong. So we will do that. Thank you for the awesome idea.
Yeah, no.
I have one question. So this is more so towards like the season overview and season strategy. Um, so we all know first is not just about robots, but it's also about, making an impact within your community. How do you guys go about, getting outreach or, conducting outreach events within your community?
Yeah, so I think it would be best for me to let Vlad speak on this one, as he is our outreach and PR head agent. So
Mm, yes, I can tell you one thing or two about this. So we are more focused on the local community, and we have a lot of children that are really interested in what are we doing. So we just try to present them our robot, our ideas. We are talking with a lot of high schools that do not have a robot team. Our robotics team is basically based in a high school. We are all members of the same high school, and we just try to go and make activities with other schools or other high schools that just are interested to show them what FTC is and what are we doing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of similar to how we also go about it. We try to look in our local area and figure out, is there what can we do to make an impact and give back in more of like a robotics way. So whether that's like, maybe even like working with FLL teams, or start FLL teams and, bring more people into the first program no matter like what level of first it is. That's kind of how we try to go about it as well.
Yes. Also, to add up to this, we are mentoring a team in a different city, and we are just their mentors, and we share our ideas, and because we are a lot more experienced than them, so we can basically just are trying to coordinate them on the programming part, on the constructing things. If we have some tools that we do not need anymore for building our robot, then we're just donating it to them.
Yeah, that's always good as
And
well.
that, oh, yeah, that's also helpful.
Well, that was just the question I had.
Yeah, so if we got here to the PR part, let's say it as that, I wanted to ask a question about sponsorships. How do you guys get sponsors and attract them to your project? Because we are in a deep need of money, constant need of money, also for the robot and for the. I know that Adi, my teammate, is nodding, but it is true.
Yeah, for us, the way we go about sponsors is really like on the First Inspires website, they have a lot of different grant options that you can apply to, and it's for rookie and veteran teams, and a lot of them allow you to, gain access to new sponsors and new mentors as well as, looking in your local community and speaking with the companies around you or organizations around you to kind of develop a plan, invite them back to where you work, show them what you're doing, and maybe see if there's an outcome out of it. Um, that's kind of how the general of how we try to look for sponsors and different mentors as well.
Now, I have a question for you, not necessarily construction related, but I want to ask you, how do you go about your engineering portfolio? Do you each and one of you write on it, or do you have like a person designated to do it and you tell them what you did this season?
Yeah, so the way that we sort of approach it is we have like our outreach team and business team, because like they are doing outreach events pretty regularly, but they also have a lot of sort of gap time compared to like the builders and programmers, you know, every day nonstop just trying to grind it out. And so we sort of, and we also sort of try to tie in the more creative members of our team, um, to in order to like boost that aspect. So basically, in the beginning of the season and like throughout the season, we have a general template that we want to follow. So we sort of picture it out in our heads, like if it's a robot section, we picture where we want maybe CAD renders of the robot, where we want explanations of it, maybe design process explanation, um, in our portfolio. And then we can sort of, when we actually go to design it in January, February sort of time frame, we can understand and more quickly develop it. That way we're not up until, I mean, it still happens up until 12 a.m. The night before it's due. But we sort of try to avoid that by, you know, making stuff in advance. That way we don't have to rush in the last minute.
Yeah, we like to like as things happen, we like to try and incorporate it into the portfolio so we don't get stressed and like overworked right the night before.
Yeah, and definitely also something that's super duper helpful. And I think I mentioned this before, but for your portfolio, keeping like documentation, like that's something that we also try to do as much as possible, because what ends up happening is we get to January and February and we're like, what happened to this like first iteration? We don't have any pictures of it, any like examples. We don't have any way to show that we actually worked on this, and so that's a big drop in what we could put in the portfolio that would be helpful.
Yeah, I think also as well as like a bunch of outreach events. I know a lot of times we forget to just like take pictures of us doing stuff out there, and I feel like that's probably one of the biggest reasons why myself and the other outreach lead we're like really persistent on, team pictures, team pictures, team pictures. We need those because if we can put them in the portfolio, we can show that we've done stuff and we don't have to, like, as Arnav said, go back to the documentation and be worried that we don't have anything for it. As far
Yeah,
as portfolio, what do you guys do on that aspect as well?
and we kind of try and take a similar approach. Last year we didn't quite manage to do it, as we were quite lazy at the documenting and writing phase, and also, as you said, we kind of forgot to take pictures, and we had a bit of a problem right before the regional event when we needed the portfolio. But this year we tried to learn from our mistake from last year and started working on it as we work on a robot. However, we do not have a PR agent writing on it because he will only write stupid things. We, the constructors and the programmers, write on it, and it's not like we are that busy with working on the robot, as we are quite plenty. Like we have five constructors and two programmers, and when one is constructing, the other one is writing, and we can manage it this way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely what we also do on or we sort of try to do is when the builders are done with their robot, they move to working on the portfolio. That way the programmers can work. If they need something, we'll pop in, pop back out. That way we can get the most done.
Yeah, we're also a big widespread team. We have people in all different areas. I think we're pretty even on how many programmers and builders we have. So even if one person's not actively working on the portfolio, they can, assist the programmers and likewise for the programmers assisting the builders. So
Yes, but it's always good to keep a note of what you did. Maybe to actually create a weekly table with the activities and the things that you did done on the robot or the activities. Yeah, that's it. But thank you guys for the advice, because as my teammate said, we were quite lazy last year on our engineering portfolio and we sort of forgot to work on it. And that was a big problem because we had a really bad engineering portfolio
Yeah,
as
definitely.
compared to other teams.
Yeah, definitely. That's something we were a little lazy at too. But we're definitely, especially this season, taking photos of every iteration, um, and then documenting what went wrong with it. That way, we can look on it further into the season. And so another thing I wanted to ask you is, how do you guys sort of establish your team goals for the season? Like in the beginning of the season, how do you establish like, sort of how far maybe you want to advance, how competitive you want your robot to be, sort of things like that, or what sort of design goals that you have?
Well, first off, we look at our budget, our uh, our uh, everything we have and we need in order to be as competitive as we can. Like we look at the team members, the experience each of one has, all of the different parts we need, the tools we need, and based on that, we kind of say where we want to get and try to be realistic. and then we try to get there. Like last year, we were kind of in a problem with our budget, as we have spent everything the year before that, and we have not had that many sponsors giving us money. So, and also the team was quite small, should I say. We had like four active members, and we did not really get that far. But this year looks way more promising, as we have a lot of members with a lot of potential, and also the ones from last year have experience, and we also have more money than last year, more parts. And I our goal should be to be as good as possible here in Romania. We do not think that we will be able to come to US in the World Championship, as there are other teams with way more connections and money and everything, everything. But we want to do good at the nationals, like very good.
Yeah, that's
How
an
about you?
awesome. Huh?
Yes, we sort of want to be recognized national at the national level to be a good team here, and then as we will get more experience, then our main target will be the internationals, of course. Everyone wants to go there, but now we just are keeping our feet on the ground and say that we cannot go as far as the internationals.
Yeah, that's an awesome goal to have. Um, One thing, at least on the budget front, as a builder, um, I can say like when I'm designing a part, I don't really picture the cost of the products. I see the part and go build it. I'm like, oh, I need this in my design. I just add it, and then I keep on adding more and more parts. And that's definitely like a super important thing to consider when designing a robot, when building a robot. You know, the costs of different parts, components, the motors, servos, things like that.
Yeah, I would say that we are kind of lucky to be like it's our ninth year in the FTC, so we have a lot of older parts that we can use. it, it's true that I would, as a builder, I almost I definitely prefer newer parts over older ones. But the older ones work, and if they don't, we try to fix them. We kind of want to make the most of what we have, and if we really need something, only then buy. Because Gobilda is from the US, and the US is quite far from Romania, so it takes a lot of time for the parts to come, and also the shipment fees are very high, and it's also a value-added tax because we import them from outside the European Union and stuff. So it's quite hard for us to order parts from the US.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to ask you guys, in addition to like planning out your robot, is do you guys use any CAD or sort of modeling software in order to plan out your robot ahead of time, like digitally, before you build it, and maybe even 3D print components and things like that?
Well, we definitely use 3D printed components, but we did not try until now. Well, this year also we did not try making like a CAD replica of our idea for a robot, because first off, we do not have that many people who have the time to do that. It's quite complicated, and also the experience to do that. And I personally see it as right now, because there is no one who really knows how to do it quickly, as a kind of waste of time. But it is definitely extremely helpful, but not in our case.
All right.
Do you plan your robot ahead of time in CAD?
Yeah. So in the beginning of the season, what we sort of try to do is just use like channels, um, like the metal channels, to sort of build like a super duper rough prototype of how we might want our robot to be. That way it's like just rapid prototyping with the stuff we already have on hand. Then depending on how that works, we make a rough prototype in CAD that sort of replicates the same thing, and then we just 3D print it. Like I have a 3D printer in my house, and so we 3D print it. We can prototype with that too to see how, if this is actually on a competition robot, maybe how it would work. it's still a rough design. Um, and then from there, we can see the problems with that, start enhancing it more. And then as we go further into the season, we try to make it out of more robust materials like aluminum, polycarb, um, or something like Delrin.
Yeah, a lot of times when we first originally start with like channels and other hardware such as that, we like to try and switch it to more 3D printed materials or just something more custom because it just gets a lot more specialized to what we want it to do, and it just reduces like maybe dead space or weight or anything like that.
Yeah, like it's definitely possible to make it out of completely uh, off the shelf parts, but um, I mean, it's definitely more compact and more simplified if it's all customized.
Yeah, definitely. Now, we unfortunately do not possess a CNC machine to customize metal components. However, we do cut our aluminum rods, and we do drill a lot of holes in our parts to make them specialized. We kind of like make our robots from the parts we had, from the metal parts we had. They look very rough because you can't really cut metal with a bonfire and make it look pretty. So, and we also use a lot of 3D printed material. However, I find it quite um, fragile. We often like last year our hooks to in order for our the robot to hang from the in the end game, the hooks like they broke all the time, and also our claws kind of broke when we made them from PLI, the 3D printing material. Now it can be really strong, but that means a lot of material and a lot of time, and we do not really possess that.
Yeah, definitely that's something to consider. The easiness to make a 3D printed part versus the fragility. Um, we also don't have access to a CNC. We buy it from like a separate company, so we just send them the files. So it's definitely something maybe further into the season we might start looking into CAD and stuff. Um, and also one just small tip is to improve the strength of your 3D printed parts, you can increase the wall count. So there's the infill layer, but if you max out your infill, it still might not be as strong as possible. But the thing that gives 3D prints the strength is the walls around it. So if you make that like 5 or 6, it'll probably be more than enough strength. I mean, hopefully.
Yeah, I did not know that. Thank you for the tip. Now,
Uh,
sorry, Vlad, say what you wanted to say.
mm, yes, I see that the meet will end in 6 minutes, and I sort of have an important question for you guys to ask. That it's not for the robot, but if Adi considers that his question is more important than mine, because he knows what will my question be about, then I will let him speak.
Oh, not really. Like, I also did not want to ask a question about the robot. Vlad.
Okay. Yeah. So it's sort of an tricky question, but we wanted to know how you guys attract people w- to your stand. Mm,
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to say.
yeah, okay.
So like an
Yeah,
outreach.
how do you organize your stand in order to be as attractive as possible? As possible.
Yes, to attract as many people as you can, because you need we have some mini games to play for the people at our stand. We have a special place to place our engineering portfolio. We try to give out some candy or some sweets, and that's basically all. But if you can give us some more advice, it will be good.
Yeah.
So
Oh, you So yeah, at outreach events, the way we kind of do is if we bring a robot, we see that helps a lot because a lot of people love to see like exactly what we're doing in the more the robotics aspect and how like we've designed such a cool robot and how we drive it around, let people drive it around and let them get the feel for like how we see how we feel in competition, maneuvering like a big robot like that. So I feel like that's the biggest way that we are able to attract different people to, come to our booth, come see what we're doing, get interested in the program, even get signed up to a team in the area.
Yeah, one thing that also might help is building like you might have your competition robot, but having a separate robot that just has basic mechanisms on it that you can take to those events. Do you mean like attract people to your booth at league meets or outright trends like you mentioned?
At anything.
Anything, yeah. So that also helps, you have your competition robot, but also like striking visuals and stuff. And the mini games definitely help a lot. Like a bunch of the teams in our Florida, they have these mini games, and then you see a bunch of people crowding around it, like waiting in line to play at it, trying to get it. So that's definitely helpful. Also, just like giving away little trinkets. If your 3D printer is not in use, then you can like 3D print little fidget spinners or little cool toys that are customized to your team. That way, um, you know, teams can have it. It's like a little cool thing. Also, it helps that our team colors are orange. It
Hmm.
stands out from a mile away. We have orange everything, an orange tent, orange robot. Everything's orange, so it's really visually bright when people see it.
Another thing we like to do is that at like league meets and stuff in our pits, we like to put our most important things from our engineering portfolio onto like trifolds so that people don't have to be already looking through the book to see things. Like maybe if they're at another booth and they see ours, they can just come up and just ask a question about that.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much what we do.
Yeah.
We no, Adi, please speak.
So these were like I wanted to ask you one more question, a really quick one. If like the judges come to your booth, do you do anything like how do you react to that?
So it's like I think the call's ending quick, but sort of a quick way that we do it is we make sure we have we have like a few people at our pit at all times. That way, not everyone's sort of swarming around them, and also we have people who know the various topics. So someone who knows how build works, someone who knows how programming, outreach, and business. Um, that way we can answer all their questions without like 15 or 10 people swarming their um.
So I do
Yeah, we
believe
don't.
our call is coming to an end within a minute here. So thank you guys so much for joining us today. We had a blast talking to you guys about everything. Um, if you have any other questions, feel free to contact us again. We'd love to talk to you guys.
We
Um,
thank you.
yeah, of course.
And also, we got some helpful advice from you guys. Hope you got something from
Yeah,
us too.
definitely.
And if possible, we can arrange another meet soon.
Yeah, that sounds good.
We will continue speaking on emailing with me and Mr. Arnav here. So thank you again, and
Yeah,
have a good day
yeah.
and a good season.
Yep,
Yeah.
of
All
course.
right. Bye,
Have
guys.
a good day.
Bye.